Multi-vector integration is Kazakhstan's chosen course of development in the program Single Market. The world needs innovations. Thanks to scientific progress, new technologies and devices, everything is coming into motion and changing for the better. Hello, my name is Pavel Kokdyshev. You're watching Single Market in today's program. The Astana Economic Forum, information for thought. New prospects as seen through the prism of optical devices. New economic reality, diversification, innovations, and the economy of knowledge. A theme that is one of great interest regardless of the circumstances and the nature of collisions that are storming across the global economic arena. The entire world is awaiting a global technological breakthrough, the absence of which is not allowing the world economy to finally break free from the zone of turbulence. That is why we are once again returning to the theme of the 9th Astana Economic Forum. Everything is moving and changing. Time, pressing challenges, options for solving problems. This global tendency is well observed at every meeting here at the Astana Economic Forum, which for a long time already is a symbolic dialogue platform of the Central Asian region. Impressions and emotions are still fresh, but a lot of what has been heard and seen here is already becoming clear and much needed. This usually happens after such wide-scale meetings and serious discussions. That is why right now is the time to once again take a look at the meaning of this forum from an individual perspective and through the eyes of its participants.
I think during the harsh time like this, it's very important to find the most talented people from all over the world to get advice and new ideas how to fix this problem.
And there is already enough of these problems piling. Last year, the worst post-crisis GDP growth rate was registered 3.1%, and this negative trend is continuing this year. According to the published forecast report of the World Bank, the world GDP growth rate in 2016 will fall by another 0.7% and will reach a record level of 2.4%. And all this is happening at the backdrop of the volatility on the resource markets, formation of financial bubbles, and introduction of artificial trade barriers. We are seeing a number of separate examples of such policies. This concerns establishment of separate blocks instead of relying on the WTO, introduction of limitations on capital movement, and of mutual sanctions on the expansion of trade barriers. Where to go when the usual guidance cues are no longer applicable and the new ones have not yet been elaborated? What does the map of future risk look like, and what needs to be considered when developing a stress test scenario? Quite often, options for addressing these questions turned out to be the advantage of developing countries of the Asian region, and Kazakhstan was named among concrete examples.
China is aging, India has a beautiful distribution, Africa is getting younger, but by and large, the action in the world happens in the developing countries, and that's where the focus should be. So the focus of this discussion here in Astana about the new world, about the world economy, about the magic road, the Silk Road.
This is why the global elite, which is not easily surprised by a global audience, finds time and opportunity to come to the distant Kazakhstan and participate in the Astana Economic Forum.
Like we are listening different ideas here, and then what?
I think that's an input into changing your ideas and forming relationships and say I was wrong about that. You were right. I'm going to change what I do.
Intellectual ideas, which are traditionally voiced during sessions, plenaries, and open discussions, add a special atmosphere to the Astana Economic Forum. By the way, this year, the authors of international bestsellers, who can be considered as a unique feature of the 9th pre-anniversary forum, added a special energy to the forum. Peter Frankopan, the author of a popular book, The Silk Roads, A New History of the World, in light of his philosophy, Kazakhstan's role as a necessary link in the Silk Way throughout the history and geography of the region looks very promising.
If you can imagine that a puzzle that a child plays with, all the pieces are connected, and what happens in one country has an effect on other ones. And Kazakhstan has very many neighbours around it, and quite big and powerful neighbours around it. But for all of them, Kazakhstan is a central point. Something that happens in one place has an impact somewhere else. And that makes Kazakhstan extremely important for the future.
Different ideas expressed by some of the key figures sometimes resulted in controversial polemics. For example, it was interesting to hear the opinion of Ha Jun Chang, author of international bestseller Kicking Away the Ladder, and 23 Things They Don't Tell You About Capitalism, on why there is a growing disappointment in the world with the process of globalization.
Joe Stiglitz, already like in 2001 wrote this book called Globalization and its Discontents. Because that globalization, on the one hand, of course, creates a lot of opportunities, but on the other hand, it also creates a lot of casualties. So you suddenly open up the market, industries go bankrupt, and people get unemployed. You have cheaper imports from China. The factories close down, people lose jobs.
The end of an era of hyper-globalization, one of the signs of the new reality, and on which the present and the future of all economies, national, regional, and global, depend. That is why the theme that was set for this forum was relevant for all participants, regardless of their status, social or professional role: new economic reality, diversification, innovations, and the knowledge economy. We are seeing that the leading countries are striving to switch to a new technological paradigm. This is a new production complex which is being established. Its core is formed by nano-bioengineering and information and communication technologies, which despite the crisis are growing at an annual rate of 35%. Technologies of the future will, to a great extent, contribute to the development of medicine, communication systems, and creation of qualitatively new materials. That is why, considering world trends and the realities of developing economies, which are experiencing difficult times, the most optimal alternative is investing into human capital and improving its potential through education and involvement into the business sphere.
Good education, good human capital will increase productivity in Kazakhstan and will create, a major important network of small, medium companies. So this is what I think Kazakhstan should do. You cannot, move away from oil overnight. It will take time, but you can use what you bring in terms of windfall and savings during the good boom.
Kazakhstan is maintaining its focus on this. The only question is how to combine it with other aims, which today are just as important. That is why a lot of people will depend on the efficient actions of the government and society's aspirations to live by the new rules of the labor market. The Astana Economic Forum has become a part of a group of economic forums during a period when the world saw a renewal of political and economic priorities, financial models, knowledge, and technological solutions. Perhaps this is one of the main reasons why the world community is showing greater interest in the Astana Economic Forum. I think you would agree, if there are more questions than answers, it is always interesting to know what reputable experts think about this. Nina Kumambetova, Askar Aitkenov, Astana, exclusively for Single Market. If the light industry is a sector that is considered to be socially important, then machine building is of strategic importance for the entire national economy. This especially concerns segments such as manufacturing of equipment for the defense and industrial complex. In Kazakhstan, the machine building sphere is curated by the national company Kazakhstan Engineering. This holding is comprised of 27 enterprises. One of them is located on the territory of a special economic zone in Astana. Our correspondent, Chingiz Maitsitov, brings us the story. It is well known that one soldier does not make a battle. Nevertheless, there are exceptions to the rules. Thanks to the Astana enterprise, Kazakhstan Aselsan Engineering, our country is one of the top 10 countries producing optics of the latest generation. The production line of this enterprise includes electro-optical devices, intelligence gathering, day and night vision imaging, and thermal imaging. In addition, the plant is promising innovations. Last year, at the 10th International Arms Exhibition that was held in Russia, in the city of Nizhny Tagil, the attention of military specialists was drawn to one of Kazakhstan's innovations, the stabilized remotely operated weapon station. Its optical system includes a couple of components: a laser rangefinder, a weather sensor, and 2 cameras, thermal and day imaging. Thanks to such an impressive kit, the combat station can play the role of a Terminator to track the enemy and engage in remote armed combat in any weather and lighting conditions. This innovation was developed by the engineers of the Kazakhstan Aselsan engineering plant. This joint Kazakhstan-Turkey enterprise was established 5 years ago. 50% of the shares is owned by the national company Kazakhstan Engineering, 49% by the Turkish company Aselsan, and 1% by Turkey's Defense Industry Committee. Our goal as top managers of this company is to make the enterprise competitive and to find our niche on the export markets. We can fully manage to sell 10% of our products in Turkey and 60% in the countries of the CIS. The equipment and technologies that are used here were developed in Turkey. That is why it is logical that part of the technical personnel underwent training in Turkey at the Aselsan enterprise in Ankara. The Astana plant occupies a territory of 24,000 square meters, and this area was initially designed by taking into account the prospects of growth that are connected with expansion of the projects and a greater share of local content. Even though the component parts are imported from abroad, nevertheless, the assembly process is quite complex and makes use of advanced technologies.
Мы сами делаем пайку, пишем программы.
Our task is to assemble the electronic circuit boards that meet international standards. Therefore, in this case, our benchmark is the IPC Class 3 standard, which is a high standard.
Народных стандартов. То есть в данном случае мы используем IPC стандарт, класс 3, то есть высокий стандарт.
Today, the project is already entering its 3rd stage of realization. This will allow the plant to produce equipment with a high added value. The 3rd stage entails the manufacturing of lenses, which are already launching as a product series in 2016. These lenses are made out of metal, which is called germanium. The material is delivered to the plant in the form of semi-finished products. Here, these metal parts are ground, polished, and a special coating is applied. As a result, we get infrared lenses with a thickness of up to 1 nanometer. These lenses have a higher transmission rate than before they were treated here. After we apply the coating, we can reach a transmission rate of 97%. The unique feature of the organization of the enterprise is cleanliness and order, just like at a pharmaceutical plant. In the work area, there is not a single flake of dust. This is a special requirement of electro-optical production. Another nuance, the products, before being sent to the warehouse, undergo strict quality control. At the experimental laboratory, they are subjected to a multi-tiered test. This is due to the strict requirements that are set, first of all, for goods ordered by the defense industry, and second of all, by the standards set for exported goods. Over a period of 10 years, we have to reach around 60 or 70 million US dollars in export volumes, which means 7 to 8 million US dollars per year. The plans of the enterprise include launching a serial production of the stabilized remotely operated weapons station, that same weapons station that was successfully presented at the exhibition in Russia. The prospects of serial production are a good incentive not just for Kazakhstan Aselsan Engineering, but also other national enterprises which are taking part in execution of this order, the Petropavl Heavy Machine Building Plant and the West Kazakhstan Machine Building Company. This project is especially valuable because a multiplier effect is being created by a production enterprise that manufactures high-tech and competitive products. Chingiz Maitsitov, Askar Aitkenov, Astana, exclusively for single market. That's all for me. Kind reminder, all the episodes of our program are available on www.Kazakh-TV.kz. Until next time on Single Market, a territory without borders.